Hey guys, and welcome to Real Talk. So, superhero movies. I love them, you love them, we all love superhero movies. But even though we live in the age of Hollywood heroes, there's a weird disconnect between certain cinematic superhero properties, am I right? Like, okay, Marvel DC crossover movie? Not gonna happen, obviously, I get that. But like, if X-Men and Avengers are both Marvel, then why don't we see like an Avengers X-Men crossover movie? Like that's box office gold, right? On that note, why wasn't Marvel Studios involved with that that movie from a few months ago? And finally, why are we just now getting Spider-Man in the Marvel Cinematic Universe instead of like, I don't know, 7 years ago? These are all thoughts that lead into the big question, one that I hope to answer today. That question being... Okay, quick disclaimer here. Pretty much all I'm about to say here is strictly suit and tie. This is not about creativity or vision or the vision. This is about making money. That's not a bad thing or a good thing, that's just kind of a thing. So, somebody call Flight of the Conchords, because it's business time. Second disclaimer, I am only talking about movies. Television is an entirely different thing and we will talk about it another time. Oh, third disclaimer, this is gonna get complicated, okay? But just stick with me, trust me. I got this, okay? Let's do this. Okay, so when you legally want to make a movie that is based on a thing that already exists, you have to get the right to make that movie. In other words, the rights, as you will. So how do you get these rights? Who makes them different from wrongs? You can either buy them outright or you can option them, meaning you have the rights for a designated amount of time before they revert back to the original owner. It's like a rental service, basically. So if Company A had the rights to Quailman, companies B through Z could not make a movie based on Quailman. Why they'd want to is anyone's guess. The most effective way to understand how this works, and also not bore you all to death, is to look at certain scenarios in cinematic superhero filmmaking. So let's go through 3 Marvel Studio deals to see how each one worked, and how they can basically get us a better idea of how this whole system works. Because trust me, this stuff can get really weird. Okay, so back before Marvel Studios was its own production company, Marvel Entertainment would option the rights to its characters to other companies for up to 5 years. If you didn't have a production after 5 years, the rights would revert back to Marvel. Back in the 90s, Sony, Universal, and Fox got the rights to some of Marvel's biggest characters. Fox got the X-Men, Universal got the Hulk, and Sony got Spider-Man. There were other characters, but whatever. Then, when Marvel decided to start making its own movies based on its own characters, the studios wouldn't give back the rights because those characters were making them a lot of money. So, Marvel had to settle for the heroes that no one was willing to buy, like Captain America, and Thor, and Iron Man. You know, looking back, the fact that these guys were at one point unwanted is very strange to me. The outcomes of each optioning are varied, so let's go by studio. The most inconsequential of these deals was Universal's. When Hulk came out in 2003 and tanked, Universal basically gave Marvel the rights back. However, Universal does own the distribution rights to any Hulk movie, which basically means they can say no to any Marvel Studios Hulk project. That may change in the future, who knows. Next up is Fox. You know, at first it's pretty simple. Fox just keeps making X-Men movies and has no plans to give the rights back anytime soon. Simple. But there's this one snag, and it actually deals with 2 characters that showed up in a recent superhero movie that we all watched. Okay, remember when I said this was going to get weird? Well, this is going to get really strange. Just go with me on this one. When Fox optioned the rights to the X-Men movies, it didn't just get the X-Men characters, it got, and wait for this, the concept of Marvel mutants. This basically means that in any other Marvel movie that is made by any other studio, they cannot legally mention that there exists mutants in these universes. And here's where the monkey wrench comes in. You know 2 characters who are absolutely, undeniably mutants? These guys. But they're not in an X-Men movie. They're in the Avengers, a Marvel Studios movie. How does that work? Because these 2 are also known in the comics as prominent members of the Avengers, as long as their heritage is not divulged at all, they can still make an appearance in Marvel movies. Speaking of heritage, did you know that these 2 are actually the children of Magneto? I'm not kidding, that's an actual thing. Oh, and this is why we got 2 actors to play Quicksilver in the last 2 years. Fox also has the rights to the Fantastic Four, but let's save that for another time. Say, next week? Okay, last one. Ready for this? It's time to talk about Sony. Sony optioned the rights to Spider-Man, and it really paid off at first. After the success of the first 3 Spider-Man films, plans for a 4th installment were immediately put into action. But after all the stuff that went wrong on Spider-Man 3's production, which is a whole other video entirely, director Sam Raimi left the project, and Spider-Man 4 was cancelled. But Sony couldn't just stop making Spider-Man movies. What are you, crazy? Marvel would get the rights back and Sony's most profitable hero would be lost. Instead, the focus shifted to rebooting the series with an entirely new cast and crew. So, in essence, the Amazing Spider-Man movies only exist so Sony could keep the rights. Nothing personal, just business. Now, that was the end of this story until fall 2014, when Marvel went after Sony to get Spidey back. It was a rough battle. Blood was splattered, bugs were squashed, but ultimately, a deal was cut. Spider-Man can appear in movies produced by both Marvel Studios and Sony. Yes, it's really that simple. This also includes Spider-Man becoming a part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So, in order to set everything back to normal, they're rebooting the series. Again. I hope you now understand why an Avengers X-Men movie isn't possible, why we've seen 2 different actors play Quicksilver in the last 2 years, and why there are now 3 live-action Spider-Men. Okay, so now that you know how this stuff works, it's time to play business. Tell me, which rights would you give to which company? Would you give X-Men back to Marvel Studios? Guardians of the Galaxy to Lucasfilm? Howard the Duck to Pixar? Okay, maybe not that last one. Let me know in the comments below, and please, be nice. Thanks for watching, guys. Make sure you like and you share with your friends if you like what you saw. Thank you so much for the warm reception to our show. This is awesome, really humbling, and we're only just getting started. Check the links in the description below to see some other stuff from us. Yeah. And next week is going to be really fun, trust me. We've got a whole assortment of stuff to plan out. It's going to be Thanksgiving for you, and it's going to be giving thanks for us. That made sense, actually. Yeah, that made sense.
Hey, Max,
What?
you're fired.